Scottish Gas. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 17 17 700. Talking Scottish football first.
Well, Rangers a 1-0 win against the Czech side last night. Jablonec 1-0. Nadiri the scorer, but it ended up a 10-man Rangers. Is that going to be enough? Motherwell went ahead against Freiburg, but they lost 3-1. Hearts were 2-1 up against Rapid Vienna, but a late goal scuppered them. It made it 2-2. And Ghent and Hibs 0-0, but Hibs miss a penalty. What are you thinking, Rangers fans? Motherwell fans too, you know the number, 0808 17 17 700. Mark Guidi is with us, as is Barry Ferguson. Barry, last night, all the chat, Rangers have won, but it was a narrow margin. What did you make of it?
It was narrow, Paul. It was pretty flat, which surprised me in the first half. After getting a good victory on Sunday against St Mirren, I was expecting Rangers to come flying out the traps and really put the Czechs under pressure. But I felt we made the Czechs look comfortable in the first half. We never really threatened. Second half was a bit better. You get the goal, you want to kick on, missed a couple of chances. And then at the end, you're holding on with the sending off of Cammy Devlin. So overall, it wasn't the best of performances, but the positives that I take out of it, it's a win and it's a clean sheet. But listen, it's going to be a difficult job for them to go to the Czech Republic next Thursday, because they're very strong at home. But listen, if they want to progress, they need to go and get a victory.
Mark, what did you make of it last night? Rangers first.
Just like Barry, Paul, a win's a win, and under the kind of circumstances and the start that Rangers have had, I think if you to offer Derek and the players a clean sheet and something to take over, ideally you'd love a couple of goals, but Rangers just not quite at that stage yet. So the tie's still wide open, but you'd imagine Rangers would have enough. But in terms of the level of performance, Paul, I spoke to a number of people today, Rangers fans who were at the game last night, and they're not impressed. They're not impressed at all at the moment.
It's just not quite clicking for him. But as you both said, it is a win. It's a clean sheet and they go next week. And Cammy Devlin, though, Barry, people were really surprised. He was only on the pitch 5 minutes and then red card.
Yeah, and no excuse. It's a red card, Paul. It's I don't know what was going through Cammy's head. I don't think for 1 minute he's went to hurt the player. But listen, when you watch it, and then certainly when you see the still images, it's there's no arguments. It's a red card, and then you're hanging on because they get a lift from that. They put you under a bit of pressure, but thankfully they never got the goal. So he's going to be missing now for 3 games, certainly for next Thursday.
Gassama had a big chance, Barry, and 2-0 would have, I think, a different complexion obviously at the end of the game.
Yeah, he's got to finish it.
Yeah.
No doubt. It's a great cross in from the right side, and he's done great to get there. His movement's been really good, but you want to see that at least make the goalkeeper make a save, and he'll be disappointed that he's not put that in the back of the net.
Mark, there's going to be signings there. There'll be signings at Celtic as well. Celtic on a high yesterday after the 3-0 win against Lask. Martin O'Neill was at pains to say it's not over yet, but they've certainly given themselves a big margin to go to Austria.
Yeah, I would say Celtic, 75 to 80%. 3-0 is a fantastic scoreline, Paul. But on the evidence of the 90 minutes, you can understand why Martin O'Neill's saying that, because in any other night Celtic could have conceded 2-3 goals. The opening goal in 28 seconds was disallowed. What a finish. Sinisalos had one outstanding save, low to his right, and I think that Lask missed a couple of sitters in front of goals. That said, Celtic have scored 3 worldies. McGregor's hit the post. It could have been a 4-2, 4-3 game to Celtic, but you would really fancy them. But I agree with Martin O'Neill, there's still a lot of hard work to be done over the next 90 minutes.
Camilo Duran was impressive, Barry.
Yeah, he has. He's been impressive since he's come in. He's definitely got that bit about him in the final third. That's what you need if you want to. If you want to be a team that's going to score goals, you need players that can go and make a difference. And certainly the players that Celtic have signed in the forward areas look to me at this moment in time that they're certainly going to make a difference.
Rangers fans, what are you thinking? Were you at the game last night? Give us a call. Celtic fans, what's on your mind after... Well, neither of you have got a game this weekend. It's really strange though, isn't it? We'll be spending a few moments talking about the Dundee Derby, the only game in the Premier League. But what about your own teams? Give us a call. 0808 17 17 700. We'll hear from Martin O'Neill shortly. But Derek McInnes then, a 1-0 win last night, 2 in a row. Not the margin he wanted, but what was his take on the performance and the result?
Disappointed with a lot of the first half. I thought we were played in fits and starts without really having any real real impetus and concerted pressure. Obviously, I thought we hit the post with a couple of moments, but I thought, and by and large, wasn't happy with the first half performance. I thought we never held our width as much as we should have, and we were too eager with our runs from midfield. We thought we were up in the game too much, and we needed to bring a bit more intelligence to the game, but we also needed to be a wee bit more enthusiastic with some of our tempo and just move the ball a wee bit quicker. We spoke about things at half time. We tried to address one or two things, and I thought we were far better second half. I thought we played forward, we timed runs better, we connected the game better, and I thought the second half gave us a far better chance of causing them problems. We get the goal, which we deserved at that point. I don't think they caused us too many problems in terms of goal-mouth chances or saves for Ivor to make. And I felt the second goal was coming. I felt that there was some decent passages of play. Obviously Gas has got to score and make it 2, and then the red card changes it, because from then on in it's just about trying to manage the last part of the game, the last 15-20 minutes or so, and make sure we get our victory. So the positives are we get a clean sheet, it's another win, it's another goal for Big Nadiri, and we've got something to take over to the Czech Republic. But I think in the bigger scheme of things there's still loads of work to do here, and I've said this the last few weeks, it's important that we try to win games of football. I thought we looked quite young at times, and the enthusiasm and the work rate was there in bucket loads, and I'll take that, but we need to show a wee bit more composure and a wee bit more poise to our play.
Barry, did they look a bit young to you last night?
It's a good point he makes. I was talking to quite a few people, and watching Rangers the last 2 or 3 weeks, I just think, I know everybody's talking about the forward areas, and rightly so, because you do need people who can certainly make a difference, but I tend to look towards the middle of the pitch, and I think there's a lot of good players in the Rangers midfield, there's no doubt, and within the squad, but I just think they need a real leader of men in there, somebody who can dictate a game of football, somebody who can slow the game down when it needs to be slowed down, who can quicken it up when it needs to be quickened up, and when the fans get a bit edgy, somebody just to calm people down. So yep, I agree with Derek with watching Rangers over the last couple of weeks. They do look a bit inexperienced. I know he said young. I do think they need a bit of experience in there. Look, they type of players are hard to find, but I think it's imperative you get a player like that, somebody who can hold everything together when things aren't going well, but also when things are going well, who can run a game of football and dictate it.
Mark, it's such an important position.
Paul, I spoke about this last week. I don't think Barry was on, and I said, one thing that Rangers are missing, and the Rangers fans won't hear, for me, it's a Callum McGregor. Somebody that just gives you that comfort and presence. They're not always spectacular, but they're tidy. They're always there. They always make themselves available. They know the right angle, short, sharp, and they give the supporters, they give the team comfort. I said it last week. Rangers haven't had that player since Barry, since Steve Davis. So it's been 15 years for me, because when you look at it, Scott Brown dominated most Old Firm games in the middle of the park, and Callum McGregor the same. So you've had a few pretenders that have come up and topped a good game for Rangers in the middle of the park, but they've not been able to deliver. And when you look at the fact that Rangers have signed 10 or 11 players, the amount of players that they have to choose from in the middle of the park at the moment, the recruitment's not been good enough, because they should have identified. And if that means going a bit extra, Paul, and spending that bit more money, then so be it. And that, I don't know if it is on Derek's radar, because he keeps talking about width and they need somebody to replace Chimity. But I agree, a proper leader, somebody in there. They're not easy to find, but you've got until September the 3rd to find one. And if Rangers don't find one, they're going to struggle this season.
I would use the word ocracy in the middle of the pitch. Somebody who can just run it smoothly. And then when things are going tough, which happens during football games, somebody who can calm the boys on the pitch down a wee bit, because you know what it's like, whether it's at Ibrox or Celtic Park, the fans are very demanding, and some people get a bit, I wouldn't say frightened, but a bit spooked at that. That's when you need somebody just to go and just talk them through it.
Dictate the tempo.
Yeah, and it's something that watching them that I think they really need.
Is there anyone in there who can fulfil the role? I think the answer is probably no. And do you think, Barry, they're going to get somebody?
I think there's a lot of good midfielders there, like Chuck Wani over the last couple of games has been really good. I like Chuck Wani. I still think there's more to come for Dan Neil. I don't think we've seen the best of him. Like when you come to a new club, you either hit the ground running or it takes you a bit of time. I think that's the case with Dan. You've got Nico Raskin. Is he staying? Is he going? Nobody really knows. You've got Cammy Devlin. We know what he's like. You've got Connor Barron. Diomandi's away now.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of good players, but they're very similar. As I says, you just want somebody in there who's going to anchor in the middle of the pitch and dictate the game and the pace of the game for Rangers.
But Mark, they must have known that they needed somebody like Barry Ferguson. He doesn't come along all the time, right? Lewis Ferguson had been spoken about. Doesn't look as though that will happen.
Yeah.
But you know, when you spend 3, 4, 5 million on other positions, wingers are important, of course they are. But you need somebody there anchoring that midfield, somebody who will dictate.
Yeah, and the point you make about Lewis, because there's no doubt that Lewis was on the radar.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that conversations took place. Rangers would have loved it to happen. Derek would have loved it to have happened. He took him to Aberdeen as a kid from Hamilton, and it made perfect sense. Just what we're talking about. He ticks all those boxes that we're talking about now. Clearly, it wasn't going to come cheaply. But I think again, if you look at it, Paul, we don't have all the sums to hand, but if you look at some of the money that they've probably spent in this window on ordinary players, almost jersey fillers, for an extra 4 or 5 million, are just showing creativity. Give Bologna a couple of players. Now maybe they've tried it, maybe they tried Raskin and different ones, Chermiti, whatever, it's no come off. But the fact that Lewis Ferguson was identified shows that they know that they need that kind of player. And they're maybe hoping, as Barry says, and Eddie McGeady spoke very highly of him, his former Sunderland teammate, that Dan Neil could eventually become that kind of player. But they need somebody ready to go and do it now.
And he's not 1 minute he's on the bench, next minute he's captain, as he was last night. And the issue with the Lawrence Shankland, Barry, he's the club captain, you are the club captain with distinction. Everyone knows he's a really good player, but it must be tough for him.
It is, but listen, if you're named the captain, you've not got a divine right to be playing. You need to show your worth to get on that pitch. But look, Lawrence, I think in time again, similar to Dan Neil, I think if he gets the right service and he gets a run of goals, Paul, I do believe that he's a natural goal scorer and he will get you goals. Again, there's just been a few of them that have had a difficult start, but again, that's where I go back to the area of the pitch where you need somebody who is a leader of men. That's what Rangers need at this moment in time. And when guys are going through tough moments, which every player does, that you can bring them along and motivate them, make them feel comfortable. So that's certainly an area where I believe that Rangers do really need to strengthen. And I get people talking about in the wide areas, not front. That's obvious that they need people in their positions. But in my opinion, watching it, and I don't know what other people's opinion, it's glaring that they do need a central midfielder who is going to really dominate games of football.
He didn't refer to who or which position, but he did speak last night about signings, what's happening.
Pick up with that straight after the game with everybody involved. So, we are kind of trying in a few different areas to get the right players in, but it's players with the right quality. We're getting loads of players put to us, but we've been really concentrated and focused on certain ones, and hopefully, as I say, I'm quite hopeful we can do one in the next few days, and we're working extremely hard, because I do think that having that extra level of pace and quality and invention at the top end of the pitch is going to be massive for this team, for our team, and if we can get that, I'm pretty confident we can keep getting improvements for the team.
Nico Raskin, Barry, on the bench last night. The chat yesterday could be off to Turkey.
Yeah, then I heard that he's been struggling with an ankle injury, and actually he's been struggling for that for quite a while. But then there's rumours about going to Fenerbahce. Again, you just want it sorted. Is Nico going to stay? Great. He's going to be a big part of the team, or is Nico going to go? How much are you going to get? And then is that going to get reinvested into the area that we've just been talking about, central midfield?
Back page of the Record Today exclusive, saying friendly chat with the Czech, with Václav Černý. We've been speaking about it for weeks here on this show. They're saying the price is up to maybe 8 million now, Barry, but you know him really well. Do you think he'll come to Rangers? Can the deal be done? The talks have opened.
Well, I checked. He's played the last 6 games for Besiktas. I seen he scored the winner last week. Again, Paul, it was one player that should have been top of the list last summer.
He was 5 million then, wasn't he?
Yep, they wanted more, but as the transfer window, which generally happens with players, Wolfsburg didn't want him. Then Besiktas got him for I think €5 million, which, in all honesty, is an absolute snip at that price. The great thing about Vaj is, people are saying 28, 29, it's a lot of money. But wait, what you're going to get there is you're going to get a guy who understands it, who knows it, and who's proved. Because what I like about Vaj is, he came, and if you remember when he came, his first couple of months, he struggled. He was getting brought off. I don't think the fans were too sure, but then that shows me mentally, he's a tough cookie, and working with him, he was quiet, but he had that bit between his teeth. He would frustrate you at times, but I tell you one thing, if a game was on the knife edge, it was pretty tight, he would come up with something. He'd come up with a bit of magic, whether that would be an assist or a goal. And for me, again, similar to quite a few players, it should have been done last year. Is it going to get done in the next week or so? Who knows? But if he does come, I think he would be an ideal player for Rangers at this moment in time.
And Mark, 2 weeks ago they were going to pay what, 7 million for Driesch, wasn't it? PSV. What do you think of Vaclav Černý? Do you think it is going to happen?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think that's one. If the club / Derek / recruitment really wanted it, it could have been done by now. And the fact is, Barry's looked into him. He's playing. It's not like he's on the bench or he's sitting up in the stand. He's making a contribution. And I would imagine, I get what Barry's saying. So from a footballing point of view, it makes perfect sense to go and try and get him, because he's going to give you a right good chance of being successful, and he's going to really liven it up in the forward areas. But from a business point of view, Paul, you're almost writing off a huge amount of money. So if you look at some of the players that have been linked with 6, 7, 8 million quid, they're 21, 22, 23, which is understandable, because we talk about, of course, the most important thing is winning games and winning trophies, but there is a business model, and Rangers' business model hasn't been as good as it should have been. So Jim Gillespie and the board have really got to up the club's game and make up for past mistakes. So I kind of get it. I get it's one of them. But to answer your question, I'd be surprised if it happened.
I agree with what Mark's saying. The model has got to be bringing in players at 22, 23, 24, making them better and moving them on. But also within that model, I honestly believe you have to have a bit of experience in there. Yeah. It's vital for me. I don't think you can go and run a team with younger players or no as experienced players. I always believe you need to have 3 or 4 guys who, I would say, been there and done it, but guys who have played at a high level for a longer period of time, because what they do is they drive the other ones beside them along. So look, there's arguments towards, would it be good, would it be bad? Yep, he's at an age where basically, as Mark says, you're going to be writing off a huge fee, because he would be coming in a 3-year contract, a 4-year contract. At that stage, he would be 33. But again, for Rangers, it's about here and now.
Yeah.
And you need to have players who are ready to go and hit the ground running. And the players that Rangers sign, and I said it to you on Monday, in my opinion, they have to walk straight into that starting 11. You can't be signing players just to be squad players.
Yeah.
Paul, to be honest, again, you're trying to put all the different hats and heads on, but what we've been talking about tonight, Barry's watched it last night. Barry's been one of the best central midfielders that Rangers have ever had. So for me, just thinking about it now, 7 million on Černý or 7 million on Kim Min-soo or whatever it's going to be, they were willing to pay that for the boy for PSV.
Yep.
What I would do, Paul, to be honest, is I would put that 7 million into try to find a way to go and get Lewis Ferguson. Go and be creative. Go and find it. Have one last go at trying to make it happen. And by the way, it's not an easy deal to make it happen, because you're probably talking a minimum £15 million. But we do know if Rangers were really serious that Lewis Ferguson would come. And you don't want him to do it, but players can make it difficult at their clubs if they want to get going. You look at Engels recently,
and he didn't play as much last season.
No, So you're looking at that. I'm kind of thinking, if I've got that kind of money, no, I would rather have a right good go. And see, when you look at it, the money that Rangers have spent in this window, and you know, you must be saying, actually, it's no money, and certainly it's no money well spent. You know, there's been a lot of players coming in, but is it real quality? Is it proper quality for Rangers? At the moment, it doesn't look like it for too many of them.
Billy's on, a big Rangers fan, saying, I want Václav Černý and I want them now, because there is no tomorrow. There's been too many players have come in and gone out, managers have come and gone, and he said, I hate to say it, but Celtic are off to a flyer. So Rangers need to get an experienced player now. And he says at 28, 29 in a couple of months, it's his best years, Barry, for that kind of knowledge, that experience, the calmness that he would maybe bring.
Yep, and obviously understanding being here for a season.
Yep.
What the expectations and the demands at Rangers is like, and listen, he handled it pretty well, and in my opinion, as I said, he was certainly a difference maker.
I'm not sure that he's calm actually, but Billy, good call. 0808 17
No, he's got
17
a bit,
700.
he's got a wee bit about him, and,
Yeah.
and do you know what?
Yeah.
I like that. He was a bit fiery at times, but listen, see if you've not got a bit of fire in your belly, well, I don't think you should be playing football.
You're in the wrong
let's be
game,
honest.
aren't you?
Aye.
Yeah, there's too many of them. You know, no, give us a shift, get tore in.
Exactly.
The manager did say there was a lot of enthusiasm and all the rest, but it sounds as though they need some older heads in there.
I think it's quite. Look, there's no doubt they worked ever so hard last night. They did. They ran about. They tried their best, but what I think is they need a bit of help. And when I'm saying help, I'm meaning with a wee bit of experience and a wee bit of guidance.
We're going on the lines next. Jamie is on. He's a Celtic fan. He is happy. That's coming up just after this.
The Go Radio Football Show with Scottish Gas.
Paul Cooney, Barry Ferguson and Mark Guidi. Let's go on the lines. What a week it was for Celtic. The first 28 seconds, my goodness, what a strike for Lask, but it was offside. On the line is a big Celtic fan, Jamie. Hi Jamie, good evening.
Good evening, Paul. Good evening, Mark. Good evening, Barry.
Hey, Jamie.
Before I make my point, I want to send my condolences to the fan that died on Wednesday night.
Yep, it's very sad, and thank you for saying that. Yeah, he took ill and died. That's really sad. Thank you, Jamie. And I know everyone round about was looked after the emergency team. Jamie, the game itself, 3-0. Could you believe it?
Well, put it this way, Paul. The last scored in the first 2 minutes, I nearly fell off the chair. I nearly fell out my chair, I should say. The other thing I'd like to say, though, I was listening to Barry there talking about Rangers need to bring other players in. So do we. I still think we need about 3 or 4, because I think we need 2 midfielders. We still need 2 midfielders to come in. Sunday left and right back. Kobe Donovan was absolutely superb on Wednesday night. And I think, see, my nerves are shattered for Tuesday already, Paul, to be honest with you.
Well, Mark, Celtic and Martin O'Neill realises he needs more. He needs a midfielder as well, doesn't he? Somebody inside alongside.
I think they do. I mean, I would imagine Celtic would feel that they're really well off in the front areas now if they keep out everyone. You know, they're really exciting to watch. They're scoring goals and they're entertaining. And I thought Martin O'Neill's point was the most pertinent of all at full time when he was doing his interview trackside with Matt Smith and Kasper Schmeichel, and he said to Kasper, you would know, Kasper, when we were going on to the field last season, we're kind of thinking, where are the goals going to come from? You know, they really toiled. Now they're spoiled for choice. But if you look at Celtic games this season, conceded one at Kilmarnock, clean sheet at Tannadice, clean sheet the other night, but they have ridden their luck. Let's be honest, they have, which is fine. Sure. Every club's got to do it. You've got to defend, your goalie's got to make saves. But I do think they need to be tighter. They need to stiffen up a wee bit. So what kind of players does Martin O'Neill feel that they need to do that? Is it a more defensively minded midfielder, just what we're talking about, that Barry's talking about with Rangers, someone to go in there and really help Callum McGregor out? What is it they need? But certainly they've got funds there to go and improve. I think they will. Jamie, I think they'll bring in at least 2 more outfield players and a goalie. And if they get through next Tuesday night, and I know you're agreeing with Martin O'Neill, you think there's a lot of work still to be done in that 90 minutes, they're going to have a fantastic pot of money to give them great options. Now, by the way, it doesn't guarantee anything, but it really broadens your horizons and really means that you can really go and do it if you want to, Paul. If the right player's there and the will is there from the hierarchy, you can go and do something pretty special in the last week of the window.
Surely they will. Girona's Colombian midfielder. There's a clue there. He's played alongside Camilo Duran. Yasser Asprilla, 22-year-old. Look out for him. Maybe he's at Girona.
Faustino's son.
Yes.
Yeah, Asprilla's son.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Asprilla's son, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Saw him. What a player. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Newcastle.
Barry, I know. Listen, we'll talk Rangers again in a moment or two. For Celtic, they're looking at a few other players as well. The keeper, it's not going to be the Blackburn Rovers keeper though, Mark, is it? I don't think.
No, I don't think so. But they will bring. So, for me, Paul's an interesting one. As in, there's a Celtic willing to spend 4, 5, 6, 7 million on someone they think is going to be their number one, or are they happy with Sinisalo and maybe just let spend a couple? I don't know. It'll be an interesting one, because I don't think Celtic are in a position to pay 6 or 7 for a number 2. For me, that doesn't make sense.
Here's Martin O'Neill at full time.
I thought there were periods where we played some really fantastic stuff. There's also periods where they played fantastic stuff. It was really like a basketball game, particularly in the first half. We rode a little bit of luck. They had a great shot in the first minute, just marginally offside. They had a great chance just a moment or two after that. So they started the brighter, and it took us time to get going. But when we did, then we scored. Great goal by Nygren to take a bit of pressure off, give us the lead, and then Duran's 2 goals were fantastic. But the game is absolutely in the balance yet.
Sometimes you need a bit of luck, Barry, don't you? Although the goals from Celtic were magnificent.
Yeah, you need to carry a bit of luck in certain games, but after that first period there, about 5-10 minutes, I thought Celtic grew into the game, and then Nygren gets the goal. I mean, you hardly see him in a game. He doesn't do too much, but I tell you what, he's got a real knack of scoring goals. And do you know what? They sort of players, they are so difficult to find. But I agree with Jamie. I still think they need somebody in the mid, similar to what we're talking about Rangers. They need somebody, a defensive midfielder, somebody who's got a bit of presence about them as well, Celtic. Because the only one they've really got in that position at this moment in time is their captain, Callum McGregor.
And by the way, by no means am I writing Callum McGregor off. I think he's still terrific and he's still got plenty to offer. But what he should be doing, Paul, is preparing for his exit, forward planning properly. Don't be leaving it, to decide to call it a day or whatever. And again, that's something that Celtic need to improve on as well as their forward planning.
What about Duran? What can you say? The manager, well, he was fulsome in his praise at full time.
He's been fantastic for us since he's arrived at the football club. And his goals were terrific. His play was great. His running back, helping fullbacks, helping Colby out on a number of occasions. It was magnificent performance. And he's if he stays clear of injury, he's going to be a really, really good player.
He certainly is. 4 to 6 million it was. It could be a steal the way he started. You mentioned, Jamie, about more players coming in. The manager was asked, Martin O'Neill, what's happening?
We are on the plus side in terms of money at this minute, and probably for the number of players you have left, I think, in terms of the wage budget and things like that. So we're actually in the plus. I think that regardless of what happens next Tuesday night, I think we've still got European football. And I think then that... and while, as we mentioned yesterday, that Champions League football is a big carrot for a lot of players, and that would be nice, I still think that we would, hopefully we'll get somebody in to augment the squad for European football anyway.
Jimmy, what do you reckon then Tuesday night? I know you're nervous about it, but 3-0 the other night, what do you reckon's going to happen?
Well, the thing is, Paul, with this firepower we've got up front, don't get me wrong, I think we'll score out there. I think it might be a Friday evening. It could be. I'd also like to say, Barry, by the way, Barry, did you make sure Rangers were doing him against us? Were you making sure Rangers were doing him against us in the cup?
Listen, it's going to be a different. I mean, that's a double header, isn't it? The quarter final and then the league games the following week at Celtic Park. But I had a funny feeling that was going to happen.
Did you?
Yeah. Because it happened last season, didn't it?
Yeah. It sure did in the Cup. Jamie, thanks so much calling from Airdrie. Sounds as though it's by satellite, but Jamie, great to hear you. And Tuesday night, just look after the nerves, see what happens. But Martin, he was playing it down, wasn't it? Saying, the tie is still a bit to go.
And didn't even have to say it in the dressing room to the players. They absolutely know this. That things that what we are, I think we've shown, I think we're capable of scoring. And which we probably would need to do. But they are a fine side. It's not, I'm not playing it down at all. It's just, I think that this game, as I say, our goals were just fantastic and good enough to win any football match. But we've got a long way to go yet.
I think as well, as Martin O'Neill just wanted to point out, just to remind everyone, Celtic are in the black in terms of their spending, as much as they've spent over 30 million quid, and credit to them for that, and identified some cracking players, but they're still about 5 million up, and they lost about 14-15 players, and they've only brought in 4 or 5. So again, the wage bill as well, Paul. So Martin O'Neill and his staff and that group of players and the supporters have earned the right to strengthen it. What they've done in the last 6 months of last season to win the league, and to now be 75% certain of getting into the Champions League, to get another 35-40 million quid. He deserves to be back, and they won't be silly about it, and nor with the staff. But if there's one or two things that are special that they think can really come in, because the other thing as well is, as Barry well knows, Paul, and we see it every season at Champions League level, the effort, the concentration, the ability to require to even score a goal or nick a point. You don't want to be getting in there and being embarrassed and getting thrashed in 6 and 7 out of the 8 games. You want to get in there and be competitive, and whoever your opponents are, you're not going to win every game, but you need to make sure your opponents work hard to get anything they're going to get from you.
Great point. And Barry, the new way, it's been for, is this the third season now?
Yeah, I like the new format.
best?
I don't know what you think, Mark. I really like it. Is it 6 games Celtic are having the Champions League? Is it 8 games?
Yeah, you get 4 home, 4 away.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, what is it to get into if they get through next week, which looks a high possibility? That's £40 million, and then what are you per game? I think you get a large sum per game.
Is it about $2 million a point or something like that?
I mean, you're looking at around about the £60 million mark. But what Martin O'Neill's saying there, he's letting the supporters know. There's still a bit of money left over here, and he's
Or at least
putting
there
a bit
should
of,
be.
there should be. He's letting the board know that he's telling people that if they don't get through, that I should still have a wee bit of money to spend.
He handles it so well, doesn't he? I remember Philippe Clement saying, look, I'm not a magician. You begin to wonder if Martin O'Neill is. I mean, it is phenomenal. Celtic were a shambles last season, and that man came in, took them to
Well, see if you're
a double.
If you're honest, Paul, I'm sure Mark will agree. Watching Celtic, they weren't a good watch, but do you know what? They done the most important thing. They found a way. When they weren't playing well, people were moaning and groaning, but do you know what? They went about their business and they done what you need to do, and that's win games of football. I would rather play bang average and win than play really well and feel sorry for yourself because you took away a point. It's about winning. That's at the end of the day. Football's about one thing, and that's winning games of football.
A Rangers fan, Ian, I think it was last night from Alpha, said exactly that. He said, I don't care what the result is, just a 1-0 win will do
We
me
used
week
to say
after
that all
week.
the time, Paul. Listen, first and foremost, it's a win. It's a bonus if you play well. Win the game first and foremost.
Mark, at Rangers HQ, there must be, look at it just now. Celtic lucky the other night in some ways, playing brilliantly in other ways. That things are a good start to the season, joint top of the table. I know there's not that many games. Neither team playing this weekend. Rangers need to get this right. They're putting a lot of money in, but they need some key areas. And they need some leaders in the team. And there's not much time left. There's only, 2 weeks in the window?
Yeah, September the 3rd. The other thing as well, Paul, where, if you want sympathy, whatever the right word is, Rangers, naturally, you look over the fence. What's going on the other side of the city? What's our rivals doing? And all of a sudden, for Celtic, who had hardly signed a player for the start of the league campaign, all of a sudden it's just clicked very, very quickly for them. So the night before, they're seeing Celtic win 3-0. Yeah, they rode their luck a wee bit, but the bottom line is they won 3-0, and they've taken a huge step towards that £40 million jackpot, whereas Rangers are playing in the Conference League. So right away, that's kind of deflating you, if you like. It puts extra pressure on you. It means you're less patient in terms of what Rangers are trying to do. So it's a tough one for Derek and his staff and the players, but they do need to find a way, in whatever shape or form that comes in, to go and make their season successful.
08, 08, 17, 17, 700 Rangers fans, what are you thinking? Celtic fans as well on a high. And Rangers fans, listen, there's so much to play for. Massive game for Rangers next Thursday night in the Czech Republic. Derek McInnes was asked more last night after the win about the new additions.
No, we do need to add to the squad. No, it's clear. But the players that we add, I think, will help get the improvements for the ones here. So the improvements come from out with, but the improvements also come from within. And I think having a couple of different options for us to play, players with a high level and players that we're trying to get, and we will get them, I'm pretty sure of that, but it's just those improvements in terms of quality and creativity and all the rest of it will make a big difference to this team.
It's hard enough, 11 against 11, but Rangers went down to 10 men. Cammy Devlin was on the pitch for 5 minutes. Manager spoke about it afterwards.
I just spoke to him briefly. I was shocked as well when we were just debating who was taking the penalty, because obviously Lawrence wasn't on the pitch yet. I haven't seen it again. It is a red card. There's no debate. I think it looks a hell of a lot worse than it actually was. I think what Cammy's trying to do, and I haven't spoke to him, but I've seen him doing this before when he's trying to buy fouls. He's trying to just get his leg up and put his body in to be fouled, and because he's in the penalty box, he's obviously trying to feel the contact to go down, but because where his leg goes up to try and put his body in, it's caught the boy in the shin, and it looks terrible. And I mean, you see the stills of it, it looks like a red card all day long, but I think it looks worse than it actually was, if you know what I mean. So far from ideal, particularly when for a brief moment you think it's going for, you've got a chance to go 2-0 up and try and hammer home some authority.
Barry, what did you make of that moment?
Well, it was a red card. And then at that stage, he makes the change just before it. And Rangers were, I wouldn't say they were mortal, but they were on top, they were in control. And you'd want to see that at least second goal go in. But then it's back to the walls. It's like you're under pressure the last 15 minutes of the game, which you don't want to see. But the positive, as I said at the start of the show, Paul, for me, is when they went down to 10 men, they didn't concede. They rallied round, they defended pretty well, and they go over to Czech Republic with a slender lead. Let's be honest, it would be ideal if you could get an extra goal or two, but listen, that's not the way it's worked. So they've got everything to play for next week.
Are West Ham United coming in for Fernandes? That's one of the topics we'll talk about just after the break.
The Go Radio Football Show with Scottish Gas.
It seems like the football's never been away here in Scotland, but in the Premiership it kicks off tonight. Barry, your old teammate, is the champion, of course. Arsenal back in action up against the champions of the Championship. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, and they started off to beat a convincing victory against Man City last weekend, 3-0. Made a few signings. And I think, looking at all the teams, I can't see past Arsenal again this season.
Mark?
Yeah, I probably. I mean, I didn't realise what about Sky Sports last night. 9 new managers in English Premiership.
Yeah.
Like 9. You think, wow. So there could be a surprise package. I think I think Liverpool will be the biggest challenge. I think Liverpool and Arsenal will battle it out. I think it'll be a real tough one for Man City. I can see them slipping down 4th, 5th, 6th.
I agree. There's just something no right. Players want to leave. Lost Rodri, who's huge. I could see Man City, as Mark says, down 4th, 5th or 6th.
They struggled in the Charity Shield or the Community Cup last weekend. Susie is listening in with Millie in the sunshine, so it's good to hear the sun. Still in August, Mark, we tend to forget that. Paddy's listening. I don't know if he's in the sunshine. Good evening, Paddy.
Good evening, gents. I'm still in the sunshine, as it were, from the fallout from the game the other night.
Yeah.
Celtic got all the plaudits, and rightfully so, for how we kind of attacked, and we got the goals that we deserved. What's concerning me is what do we do about the lack of pace in the centre of defence? Vickers, and to a lesser extent, Trusty. If we play that high line again on Tuesday night, for me, all bets are off. Because that guy, that manager, and I don't mean to be rude or ignorant, don't know his name, but he also did his homework. And on another night, you're maybe looking at maybe a 4-3, my heart could do without that on Tuesday. So what do you think, guys?
Mark?
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of your points, Paddy, but I think you've got to give credit to Lask. It was very clear from within 30 seconds that they were a top side, as Martin O'Neill warned before it. And 2 or 3 really good players. They were just very wasteful in front of goal and marginal offsides that cost them 2 goals. In terms of the pace at the back, at European level, Paddy, other teams are going to expose you. So Celtic are going to expose, because they'll do their homework, they'll find their weaknesses, because whatever it is, Celtic don't have any complete players. They don't have a magnificent back four. Because if they had any complete players without any deficiencies in their game, they wouldn't be playing for Celtic, and they wouldn't be playing Scottish football. So you've got to accept that there'll be weaknesses that other teams will try to exploit. Tactically, it'll be interesting to see how Celtic up. Do they go a little bit deeper and just sit and defend and try and counter-attack, because they've got really good pace? They've got Big Who up front, who gives them that option of holding the ball up and keeping the players busy. But I just hope that, it's the old cliche, but I just hope Celtic don't concede in the opening 20 minutes. Otherwise it could be a really, really difficult night for them.
Barry, the player Samuel Adeniran, the American, I mean, he had lightning pace. We saw that in the first minute. And
listen, Mark just took the words out of my mouth. I think you'll see him at least 10 yards deeper, Celtic. They'll not take any chances when they go across there next Tuesday night. They can't, because if they do play such a high line, they're in for trouble. No doubt about it. Think about Celtic, we're talking about signings. Do you think that's an area that will look to strengthen?
Centre half.
Because obviously Carter Vickers, in my opinion, when he's back in the defence, Celtic a lot stronger. But obviously his injuries.
Yeah, that's the thing, Barry, and Alistair Johnston being out, so that's your right hand side. So I think what will happen is, I don't think a centre half would be a priority, but given the budget that they've got, and if they do get through on Tuesday night, if something popped up that really caught their fancy, they're in a position to go and do it, Paul. So why not?
And look at the money that's there if you get a point or 3 points, in the Champions League. Paddy, what about young Colby Donovan? Here's what your manager said afterwards.
He really did great. He's got a big heart, and that's nice to see. Really nice to see. And he's a local lad as well too, and loves it. Loves the football club. Loves playing. His enthusiasm is boundless, and he stuck to his task brilliantly tonight. He just goes for it, and he's always trying to improve his game. He's trying to improve his first touch, things like this here. But overall, I don't think you can compensate for the heart that he has.
Paddy, what did you make of Donovan?
Yeah, he came through a big test the other night. Throwing into that, so much pressure in that game. That's he certainly made a statement, and I'm sort of agreeing with the guys in terms of the summation of the situation at central defence. And if I still wouldn't have, I think I wouldn't have any problem maybe putting Donovan in there. And if Vickers gets another hamstring issue, and maybe that's what's kind of holding Vickers back, from going full pill. And maybe again the fact that when it gets to the Champions League proper, we will be playing a much sort of deeper role. But it just scared me a bit. But yeah, hats off to Donovan, big future, and everything's looking good there. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do go into the market for a centre back, maybe somebody from the Eastern European leagues, maybe pick one up for about 8-9 million, something like that.
What did you make of Mika Bauer, Barry? Here's what Martin O'Neill said afterwards.
He did really fine. It was a tough game to throw him into, I must admit, but he acquitted himself pretty well.
Yeah, he looks good for his first start. There's obviously it was a player that Celtic were chasing for quite a while. Yeah. I'll take him a bit of time, but listen, you've seen flashes of why Celtic paid, what was it, £6.5–7 million. But you'll see over the coming weeks, it is an area that Celtic had to strengthen. I still think they'll go and try and get another midfielder, but in terms of Bauer, I thought he looked pretty handy, that's for sure.
Start of the week, Mark, everyone was speaking about who with his hat-trick. He did a lot of work, didn't he? Maybe some of it unnoticed the other night.
Yeah, he's a grafter, Paul. Yeah. He'll link up. He's got boundless enthusiasm. It's infectious. You can see players with a smile on their face now. But Duran stole the show with the 2 goals. Negrin obviously got them up and running. So it was 3 great goals. But yeah, he's a brilliant number 9. A great presence, fantastic work rate, and he's enjoying himself. And he'll do really, really well. And considering Duran's not even playing in his best position is a number 9, floating in and off a number 9, then to do so well on the wide areas. And we talk about partnerships, Paul. If you're going to be successful, you need partnerships. And for the foreseeable future, it looks like it's going to be Donovan and Duran. Then you've got Hassan as well. So Donovan's going to be a key part of it. And what I really like about Donovan as well, and that's another one that Martin O'Neill's gone for. The staff have worked hard on him this summer to have him ready. He's jumped ahead of Anthony Ralston, the Q, who's a Scotland international, was at the World Cup with Scotland. I think he's got brilliant recovery as well. So he'll get up the park, he'll try and overlap and take the full back away, and if the wing wants to cut inside. But his recovery as well, he's got great recovery at get back into position when he needs to defend.
Paddy, thanks so much for your call. Hopefully speak to you again.
Thank you.
Cheers, Paddy. 08 17 17 700.
That is just what you said there. It's key. You need to build relationships on the pitch, whether it's 2 centre backs, 2 central midfielders, as you mentioned, right back, wide right, left back, wide left, centre forward, and somebody who's just playing off them. It's key that you build relationships, and sooner you build them, I think you've got a right good chance of being a successful team.
Barry, the reports that West Ham are looking at Manny Fernandes. So, I mean, at the start of the window, it was mentioned that he might go. It's gone quiet. He's had a tough start to the season. But undoubtedly, there's loads of talent in that young man.
Well, if you look at him, he's got all the attributes you would want in a centre-back, Paul. He's a giant. Yeah. He's dangerous in the opposition box. I think he improved last season in his own box. Because first and foremost, you've got to remember, he's a defender. He can be a bit lacklustre at times, a bit too casual in my opinion. But listen, Rangers got him for £3.5 million. I don't know what the rumours are, but everybody's got a price in their head, and I think if somebody comes in and meets that price, Rangers will do business.
Mark, could you see him moving? Jamiti was rumoured this time last week.
Yeah,
it would be a big chunk of money.
Look, Rangers aren't going to go and say it publicly, Paul, but they need to bring money in. Yeah, they need to go and balance the books. They've spent a hell of a lot of money and they've not brought. So I'd actually need to sit down and work out what their net spend is over the last 2 or 3 windows. But it'll be a lot. They've spent a lot. So at some point they need to start, like we're talking about, the business model. So is it Raskin? Another one I'd look at. Bruges have been linked with Romans. Now I never thought I'd say this because I thought Romans was brilliant. January, February, March. but his attendance record, you've got Penrice in actually. So what? So somebody's going to give you 6-7 million for Romans. I'd be very tempted to take it. Likewise, Fernandes, because Fernandes strikes me as the kind of guy that will have 5 or 6 good games, but could let you down equally. So I would be very tempted as well to take money for Fernandes if there's money on the table.
It's 6 o'clock. We're going to take the news and then we're back. You know the number. We're back just after this. will go to the Championship up here, although also the Dundee Derby this weekend. So Dundee against Dundee United. Funnily enough, the Dundee Derby. What else could it be, Mark? And then the Championship kicks off tonight, Barry. I know you always, on a Friday night, like to watch it. And it's Inverness against Partick.
Yeah, one of the favourites in my opinion this season, Partick. I thought they had a great season last year. I watched the first game of the season against Livingston. I thought they were excellent. They thoroughly deserved to beat Livingston. So, yep, I'll tune into that. I always like watching the Championship football.
Mark, they were a wee bit, maybe not unlucky against Hibs, but just a 1-goal margin last weekend. They weren't too far away from it, but they would love to have gone further in the Cup. But it's the Championship, surely for them, is their target to get promotion at last.
Yeah, I mean, they came so close last season. I think we've said many times. We've complimented Mark Wilson and Alec Ray on this programme, and Thistle will be there or thereabouts. It's a long season. The January window as well is always interesting to see what you can do there. But we've said it many years now on this show, Paul. The Championship's brilliant. It's a really good league, really exciting to watch. And I think starting tonight, exciting game
for the league.
I can't remember, who did we pick?
Partick Thistle.
Pick somebody? No, I didn't go for Partick.
Barry, you went for
Fairland,
do you know what I think it's going to go with between three? Partick, Livy, and I think Ayr United.
Aye.
Yeah. Livy play Dunfermline tomorrow at 3. Wraith Rovers play Ayr at 3. Morton against Arbroath, 3 o'clock. And Queen's Park against Stenhousemuir. Leslie Ann, of course, will be at the Morton game she was on earlier on. Yeah. It's been a tough time for them, money-wise.
Yeah, they're going through a tough time at this moment. Morton, they had a great start to the season. They're threadbare in terms of the squad. I seen they only had, 2 or 3 people on the bench in the last week or two. So tough times for Greenock Morton, but hopefully somebody will come in and help them out.
Maybe the Easdale brothers.
Yeah, I seen that. They're obviously local businessmen who have done really well over the last couple of years.
First hour we spoke a lot about Rangers winning 1-0 last night against Jablonec. So it's next Thursday, and surely Rangers go through. It would be almost unthinkable, Barry, to be out of all the European competitions.
Yeah, look, really disappointing last Thursday against the Polish team, but no arguments, Paul. See, over the 2 legs, I'm not going to sit here and say otherwise. They deserve to go through. And look, last night's performance wasn't the best, but they found a way to win, clean sheet, and now they need to recharge their batteries and make sure they go over to the Czech Republic next Thursday and get a result and make sure they're in at least the Conference League.
Derek McInnes is confident Rangers will go through.
Obviously, keeping 11 men in the park, and obviously keeping the good from today's game, the second half in particular. I think there was no real surprises from them. Obviously, they changed the midfield shape in terms of going with 3 out-and-out midfielders rather than Zorvan the 10 who's been playing for them. I thought they got a bit more legs and a bit more energy than because of that. So there was no real surprises from them. I just want us to be better, to be honest. And I think we'll have to be better. Normally in Europe, if you don't get through a European tie, if you only play well in one leg, and we've got to make sure we're as strong as we can be next week, a stronger performance, and I'm confident we've got enough in us to go and do that.
Mark, do you reckon Rangers will go through?
I do, Paul. Yeah, as you say, they've got to go through. The prestige. Okay, the money's not going to be great in the Conference League. We're not talking about the Champions League, but it's your prestige. It's like Derek does not need any more negativity or any more pressure if Rangers don't do the job next Thursday night. So they've got to go and do it. And if you do get into the Conference League, I'm not saying Rangers are going to go all the way, but you know what? They can be competitive. You can go and enjoy it. They don't want to be negative because I think they'll go through. But if you want to take a positive, if they don't go through, then your focus is just week to week and try to win the title, which Derek had at Hearts last season.
That's right.
Which he enjoyed, which was good for him because you're getting proper time on the training field, and they were turning that into more often than not good results on a Saturday. But Rangers need European football. They are a club that's built to be, with the greatest respect to the Conference League, they should be at a higher level. Celtic and Rangers should be minimum Europa League every season. But that's where they are, and they need to go and get a job done next Thursday, and they should get it done.
You were at the final just a few years ago with Davy Moyes, West Ham United, and that meant a lot to the club, didn't it? They hadn't won anything for ages, and if Rangers could progress there, do well. The danger is if they go out next Thursday, it's real pressure on Derek and the team.
It's unthinkable, Paul. Look, they have to go and find a way to get through into the group stages. Rangers, we know, European football, it wouldn't be a good look at all. So they need to find a way, as I said, to go over there next week. Who cares what it's like? Doesn't need to be pretty. Just find a way to make sure you're in the group stages.
Was it one of the plus points for Rangers last night, Macania?
Aye, very much so, to be honest. You know, when you come from the MLS, a different type of football, you've seen a lot of games in the MLS, it's all a bit slow and a lot of it's pedestrian like, but what we did like about him when we watched him was his ability to go man for man, his ability to not lose a foot race, and his calmness in the ball. It's a different type of football obviously at the MLS to what he's having to experience here, but I do think he's dealt with everything we've asked him, and I think it's right that you mentioned him, to be honest, because I think he's come in where the team's not been at its best, and he's coming from the outside in and just trying to settle in. And I think there's a lot of them in that sense where there's those adjustments. There's a lot of young players, a lot of players signed that we're trying to integrate and get those sort of connections, but he's done really well, and I think there's a lot more to come for him as well.
Barry, do you see him settling in as a regular?
In terms of it's not been a great start to the season, there's been a couple of wins over the last couple of games. He has certainly been a plus point. As I said, he likes one-on-one, he's quick, he's strong. I like the fact that he goes and breaks for defence into midfield, he'll go and drive. So he's certainly one of the plus points, and it looks to me if that's been a real decent find.
Could he have a partnership with Ben Godfrey? Would that work? Or if Fernandes does go, or could he overtake?
Ben Godfrey's was a big signing for Rangers, albeit in loan. I actually spoke to him last week. He's not far away at all. I mean, he's back training. It wasn't as bad as it was first feared.
Good.
So, that's a possibility. But if Fernandes does go, they'll need to bring in somebody else, Paul. Because John Souttar looks if he's out of the picture. Yeah. I don't know what's happening with John Souttar, but Ben Godfrey was a big signing because he's got good experience. I know he's not played a lot of football, but he has certainly played at a high level.
Rangers fans, what are you thinking? Give us a call, 0808 17 17 700 over at Celtic. Martin O'Neill spoke the other night just after the game, after the win, about how the money has been invested by the club.
Well, I think that whatever we paid for Duran, I think he has paid his ticket by now, and he's only into this fourth game. So I don't think it was an awful lot of money when you consider some of the fees that they're talking about for the Premier League. I think he's a real bargain at what, 4.5 million or something like that there. So and centre forward has given us a bit of presence there, which I don't think that we had last year, despite Dyson probably winning the league for us single-handedly. But it's nice to have that.
Celtic's last game in the Champions League proper under Martin O'Neill was against AC Milan, and up front there was Sutton and Hartson. So it's early days for a combination here, and they're very different players, but who has done so well for Celtic so far? Duran as well, but mentioning John Hartson, it's his big charity ball tomorrow night, Mark, isn't it?
It is. Big John does incredible work to raise different money for the Beatson and the Glasgow Children's Hospital charity tomorrow night, which he's been doing for 16, 17 years now. So a credit to John and his family, and over 400 people coming along tomorrow night to support him and the great causes that he raises money for.
I mean, two absolutely brilliant charities, Barry, the Beatson and Glasgow Children's, so they're always there when people need them. Yeah,
listen, as Mark says there, does brilliant work. Didn't realise it was that long he's been doing it as well. 16, 17 years, so it's great charities. Hopefully they raise a lot of money and the charities benefit from it.
Sure they will. Motherwell, what about last night? What a start it was. We heard about the early goal because they kicked off early, Barry. 3-1 defeat.
Off to a brilliant start after a couple of minutes. But listen, if you look at Freiburg, they're a decent team. They're a decent team. It was always going to be a difficult task for Motherwell. So when that obviously draw came out, I think were they not in the final last year?
With
they
Villa.
were Villa beat them. So it shows you the quality that Motherwell were up against. But listen, I thought they gave it a good go, but I just think they were a level above.
Jim is on from Netherley saying, guys, I got a ticket for Motherwell last night. A really good game, but Freiburg were a cut above Motherwell, just as you said. Motherwell played really well, tried hard, but I felt the opposition had another gear. Scary stuff. It just shows you, Mark, you don't get to the Europa League final just a few months ago without being a decent team.
No, Motherwell, we're always going to have the work cut out. I think out of the 5 teams in Europe, I think Motherwell had the most difficult tie. Credit to Hibs, Paul, fantastic result. And Genk and Hearts getting a score drawn. Lovely to see young James Wilson back in the score sheet.
What a strike.
He's got a chance of being up. Scotland's looking for number 9s. If he can kick on, then he's got a chance. And one player again who's not been sold by Motherwell, who the early reports from people saying he's really kicking on again and looking the part. I don't know what Barry thinks of him, but just one thing like Celtic and Rangers maybe looking for someone is Fadinger, Paul, and I think he's terrific. He was really, really solid. He didn't get a lot of the limelight last season because that's not his role. He'll sit and he'll protect, and he's very disciplined in the centre of the park. But I just wonder if Motherwell will be able to hang on to him.
Barry Fadinger.
Yeah, he's a good player. It was more focused on Man Manise and just last year, but Elliot Watt, that's another one who I think he's away to Turkey he plays football. He is a good player. One of the unsung heroes, I think, from last season. It was the 3 that I mentioned that got all the limelight. And I agree with Mark. I'm sure a couple of clubs or a number of clubs are casting their eye over him.
Shall we go back on the lines? Michael is on in the West End, a Rangers fan. Hi, Michael.
Good evening, Paul.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm okay. Are you all right?
Aye, Barry's in top form, so that's Barry's happy.
I don't know about top form, but I'm here.
Yeah. I do not speak for Barry Ferguson. Mark, how are you?
I'm good. Glad to hear Michael on.
Yeah, Michael, what are you thinking after last night?
I don't really know, because I don't know what way we're going, because the football at the moment is just no. It's no picking up at all, Barry. I don't know if you agree with me, but I just think we're missing that spark in the middle of the field to ignite everything, and I just think we're bland. The first half performance, I think, was a bore fest, and we're lucky that team aren't any good. Let's be honest, because if they were, they would have ripped us apart in that first half, if they even a half decent team playing last night. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think they're just okay, but you've got to remember, you've got to respect the opposition. But I agree with you, Michael. They're just okay. Yep, things are no clicking. But we spoke about it earlier in the show. I know you've mentioned like the kind of midfield area. I think it's so important that they get somebody in who is a real leader of men, somebody who can dictate a game of football. I know we're all speaking about forward-thinking players, and I totally get that. And that's, if you hear the manager speak, that's clearly areas that he's identified. But for me, I've said it at the start, Mark's agreeing with me, and I'm sure you'll agree, Michael. It's a midfielder who's going to really dictate a game of football.
Michael, would you like to see your club go for it?
I would like Barry Ferguson to.
Yeah, Lewis Ferguson.
I would like Barry Ferguson to get the boots back on and get a bit of regiment in the midfield, because that's what we need. You, Barry, somebody like you in your prime, in the middle of the park who would ball and shout and not be scared to kick somebody up the back end or give them a bit of a telling on the park, because that's what we're missing. I know Penrice has done it, but if it takes a young guy just to come in a couple of games, in his first game, to tell some of the squad off, then it's a bad sign, don't you think?
No, I agree with you, and I don't think it's a bad thing. People look at certain people moaning, groan on the pitch. You're doing it for a reason, to try and get a reaction and try and help them, and and motivate them. And when I'm watching Rangers at this moment in time, I do really think, and I believe it, as I've similar to you, Michael, probably I've watched every single game this season, and it's just jumped out to me every time I watch Rangers that they've not got somebody who can really drive them on. As I said, when things are going well on the pitch, he's a one that breeds them confidence. When it's not going so well, he's one that will calm everybody down. So look, an all-round midfielder who's going to drive the team on. I think Rangers are desperately needing.
Mark, but there's 10, 11 signings already. There's only less than 2 weeks left in the window, so they're going to have to move quickly. And I know it's really hard to find that type of player.
Yeah, it's a strange one, Paul, and obviously we're not privy to the mechanics and all the ins and outs and the endless meetings that will go on and the endless poring over various players that are brought to their attention. But if you go right back to pretty much from day one when Derek McInnes got the job, it became clear on the QT that Lewis Ferguson was a target. Right, so clearly he's identified. And if you watch Lewis Ferguson playing for Scotland in the World Cup, he was terrific. Really, really matured level of performance in this role that we're talking about. So what's changed? So clearly they've not been able to get him because it was a highly ambitious move. Financially, I thought it was going to be way out of Rangers' reach, to be honest. But then that's you need to become creative because the one positive that you've got, there's a willingness from the player to come to Rangers. So that's a real positive. And you then go and chip away at Bologna and you try and be creative. So Derek's clearly identified, or the recruitment department have identified, that's an area of the team that we need. So what's changed? Because they still need it. So did Derek think, well, actually Chikwani's going to be that guy, or Dan Neil's going to be that guy, or whatever? But I still think that they're crying out for someone to go and, as Barry says, just take a grip of proceedings and be the focal point and the heartbeat of the things. I've said it before, Michael probably not let me say it. Look what Callum McGregor gives to Celtic. You're not telling me that had Celtic didn't have Callum McGregor, Martin O'Neill's highlighted as we did, Celtic are not winning that league last season, that last 7 games, because Callum McGregor brought that composure and leadership when it was needed.
Barry, what would you say?
Yeah, but I just think it's probably been too expensive for Rangers. And they brought in 3 midfielders. They brought in Dan Neil in a free transfer. They brought in Cammy Devlin in a free transfer. And they've paid, I don't know what, £4 million for Dragojevic. But if you look at all of them, they've all got... If you look at the Rangers midfield, I've just mentioned day 3, but if then you add in Connor Barron, you add in Nico Raskin, you add in Asgard, you add in Chukwani, they've all got similar attributes where there's not one player that kind of stands out to just be that player that we've just been talking about. That guy who just keeps things ticking in the middle of the pitch, keeps the ball moving. As I said, when the crowd are getting a bit edgy, brings that calmness to the team. And then when you're on top of a team, a player that's then driving everybody. If you get that goal, he's driving to get the second goal. He's driving to get the third goal. That's just watching Rangers. I don't know if Michael agrees. That's what I think Rangers are just crying out for at this moment in time. Michael?
I agree. Not one of the players that Barry has mentioned, or Mark. And I agree with Mark. Callum McGregor is a Trojan. He's still got it at the age of 33 or something, and he's the clock that ticks in the middle field for Celtic. That's what we need. I would prefer not to have Shukawani. I would prefer not to have Dragojevic, Neil, and all these guys, and I would prefer to have Ferguson and Sherney.
Right,
that's the two players. Yeah. That's the two players that I would identify that would make us work. Lewis Ferguson and Sherney, because we said it last week, Barry. The Lewis Sherney's stats and assists were outstanding. 16 or 17, and he scored quite a lot of goals, didn't he?
18 goals, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 18 goals. I think it was even more assists, Michael.
12.
He was, as I said to you, he was one of the guys where you're playing games where it's a bit of a dead rubber, there's nothing really happening. He would be the one that would come up with that bit of magic, go and beat a player, cut in for the right side and bang, goal. or he would then give an assist. And then if you look at the money that's been spent, because you've looked at it and says, right, let's just go and get 2 or 3 and build round about that. 2 or 3 who have got that bit of know-how and experience that understand the club. But listen, they've went down a different way. They brought in 11 players. And to be fair, they've been well backed. The club have shelled out a fair bit of money.
Michael, when you think about it, 1 title, 15 years. Rangers, a huge club. We know the history. You've got to go and get somebody like Lewis Ferguson now. See the amount of money that's come in and gone out to bluffers over the years, especially in recent years. The amount of money wasted. I mean, by people the old board who put their money in, the shareholders, the major ones, the new ones, the Americans. I mean, it's baffling the amount of money that's gone on players we've got 11 players in, but the manager's saying, and we need more, and he does need more. You hear Barry and Mark saying, they need a few key players. This shouldn't be rocket science, should it? To find the players who would fit the jersey and Rangers can challenge. Because at the moment, it doesn't look as though Rangers will challenge Celtic this season. Michael, do you think they will?
I was on last week, and I was glad to know and see the cup game with Celtic, albeit at Ibrox, and we had a month. I think we need 3 or 4, 5, 6 months before I seen Celtic the night in the against that Lask, and they played outstanding. Celtic, Duran, Hogg. They've got outstanding players, and that's what we lack, Barry. I fear for us, even at Ibrox. I fear for us at Ibrox. And I think, answering your question, Paul, the problem with Rangers is every manager that we've had a continuing conveyor belt of managers, and they have done a clean sweep of all the players and brought fresh blood in, no bedding any of the players in that the previous managers had, and that this is what Derek McInnes is doing as well. Another 15 or 16 players, and we've had how many players have we had? 27 players or something now, Barry, or something like that.
I think
that's an astronomical amount and a number of players to bring in.
Yeah, it's impossible to do that you can't continue to do that. But what I do believe is you can bring in 4, 5, 6 max each season, but you can't keep the turnaround. The players season after season after season is far too much, and at some stage you have to get it right. You'll not get every signing right. That's impossible. But what you need to do is you need to get a high percentage right. But I'm a big believer in, I like, see the model bringing 21, 22, 23, get it, like it. But also what you need is, you need players who have been there, seen it and done it, with a bit of experience and a bit of know-how.
Michael talks a lot of sense, doesn't he?
He does. Yep.
You can hear the passion. Michael, are you going to go through
what I will say is, the window shuts, the 3rd of September?
Yep.
It's a big 2 weeks. It's a big 2 weeks for Rangers. Because who they bring in need to be guys who first got to hit the ground, first right good players, hit the ground running, straight into the first team, straight into the starting 11. There can't be any signings, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, that just go and play a game and sit on the bench and play an odd game here or there. These need to be guys that come in play week in, week out.
Which, Mark, takes you away from the Vaclav journey. And I heard the strong argument you put, about the selling model. But in his case, get him in at 29, do the deal, and then you still need someone else in the midfield as well. Because it's now or never.
Yeah, I get it. It's about the here and now. I just think when, let me put it this way, if it was 3.5, 4 million for Tierney, I'd say it's an absolute no-brainer. And when I heard, I forgot just how effective he was in terms of the stats, his assists and his goals, that contribution that he made to me. I just think at 7, maybe 8 million quid, I just think it's a hell of a lot of money. For me, I would have another bash at going for Lewis Ferguson, because I would rather see that money put towards a player like him, who, by the way, if he comes to Rangers, he'll be there for the next. He'll be the next Barry Fair or the. I don't want to keep going back to it, but the Callum McGeady, he'll be there for 6, 7, 8 years, and he will run the show, and he will run the dressing room, and he will run it on the park. So for me, if you're going to go another big investment, I'd go all out to get Lewis Ferguson.
Is Barry on the phone there? Just check it. Is it Mr. L. Ferguson? Listen,
But I
thanks so
seen
much,
an
Michael.
interview
Good
Lewis
call.
done.
Yeah.
I seen
What did
an
he say?
interview Lewis done, I think, with Italian press. That, listen, he doesn't hide the fact that one day
I saw that.
he wants to, and one day
to play for
hopefully it'll
Rangers.
happen.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Michael. We're back after this.
The Go Radio Football Show with Scottish Gas.
Looking forward to the weekend. It's the derby in Dundee. That's the only game in the Premiership because they called them off. Mark, just a quick question was about to go on the line. Do you think it was the right thing for Rangers and Celtic to do?
Well, I would imagine if you had to ask the managers now, I would say for sure, I think Derek McInnes would rather take a game this weekend, in particular, with the greatest respect. It's the Conference League, Martin, and they might still want a free weekend because the game's still in the balance. So I can understand it at the time, Paul, and it's good that the SPFL have created the opportunity to go and do that because we get criticised when they don't. Our teams go into Europe and they're having to sandwich it in between games. So no, listen, I totally get it.
Barry?
Personally, I would have played the game.
Get another game so early in the season. Yeah. Let's go on the lines. Paul is on, a Celtic fan. Hi, Paul.
Oh, hi guys, how are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Hi,
How are
Paul.
you? What's in your mind tonight?
It's first of all, the start that Celtic's had to the season, I think it's been great. Attacking wise, I think it's been great. If I'm honest, I think we've possibly been a wee bit jammy. With the defensive stuff, I think that we haven't been lucky. I mean, hitting the post in the bar against Dundee United 5 times last week and the European games during the week, that could have been I never even saw the ball going in. It went in at such a rate. But attacking, I think, we've been really good. I don't think we can complain about that. The thing that I've been kind of quite amused about is the amount of people now that seem to think that Ingles is a £25 million midfielder that's going to be difficult to replace. Now, I think I was at every home game the guy played, and I don't remember once seeing him play and thinking, this is a right good player, this is an £11 million player. I mean, he done the basics good. At times, crossed the ball, ran, tackled, took a penalty. But I think since Nottingham Forest put that bid in, there seemed to be this. I've heard people describe him as being a Rolls Royce. I mean, what's going on? I'm not saying the guy was a dud, but he was a very average young guy who I don't think would be hard to replace at all.
Even the Kilmarnock game, his last game the other week.
I know it was okay. It was okay. Right? It was good. But it was good, right? Yeah. But if you put it this way: would Celtic pay £22 million for a guy that plays like that? I don't think so. I mean, I just think the vast majority of people didn't think he was a great player. They thought Raskin was a better player, if I'm honest. But there's this new thing that because we got that money from. I mean, I'll be honest, I have no idea why they paid that money from him, but I'm not complaining. But I just think it's quite amusing.
Who wants to take that one?
Thank God Paul's not judging me as a player.
No, I agree with Paul in some respects, as in I think it's fantastic money to get from him. And had, let's just say West Ham had offered 15 million this summer, I still think that would have been a good deal just to make any kind of profit on it. No, it's not the boys' fault. Celtic paid 11. They've clearly paid over the odds at that time. I always thought, like Paul, I never thought he was a player that really thought, oh my God, and took your breath away. But I thought he was a wonderful technician, and I can see the appeal because West Ham are looking upon this as an investment, because West Ham will feel that A, it'll help them win promotion this season, and B, they'll be looking to sell him for between 40 and 50 in 2 or 3 years' time. That's what they're thinking. I think he's got the makings of a really top player. But I do think, in terms of Paul's point, it's incredible money to go and get that for him. But I would disagree. I thought he made a real contribution. And Martin O'Neill's highlighted Dazin Maeda. I've highlighted Callum McGregor earlier. But Engels and Johnston coming back, Paul, for that last nick of the season absolutely helped Celtic go over the line. Engels and Johnston really helped drive that team on.
I'm interested to hear Barry Ferguson's take on this.
I think it's an unbelievable deal for Celtic, 22 million quid. I really do. I think he's a good player. I do. And then watching him, I do think there was more to come from him, if I'm being honest with you. If you had to work. That might come when he goes to West Ham, who knows? But to pay £11 million and get 22 million pound plus add-ons, I think it's an unbelievable deal for Celtic.
Paul came up with the best word of the night so far.
Jammy. I've not heard that for ages.
I know, it's absolutely brilliant. James said that as well. I smiled. Yeah, there was that jammy element to it the other night as well, but there's also some good stuff. What pleased you? Obviously it would be Duran, I would imagine. Paul?
Yeah, I think Duran's. I think he's got something about him. I think he just seems to one of these guys that oozes confidence. But don't know if that's the kind of part of the world he comes from. But he's done a couple of wee tricks, and I think he's just getting warmed up. I think he's the closest thing would get to closing down compared to like Dyson Maeda. You don't really see guys sitting back in big holes. I think he put in a shift. He's getting battered all over the place, But attacking wise, I've got no complaints. I think we've paid not a lot of money for what we've got actually. So I'm happy.
So Paul, what do you want to see happen in the next 12 days?
What I would like to see happen is I think we need somebody in the midfield to replace that fantastic player who's went to West Ham. I thought it was quite funny that must have been the smallest midfield I think I'd seen. The wee fella that was a captain for our team, Callum McGregor. I would like to see somebody. a bit of muscle in the midfield. I still think the defence needs sorted out. I think that Carter Vickers has never been the fastest, cracking player, but I think it took a wee while for him to gauge the big guy the other night. And I think Trusty's fast, but I don't think he could move. I think Carter Vickers needs to play there where he is. I don't think he can move to the left or right. I don't know, but I would like somebody in midfield, a couple in midfield, and somebody at the back. And I mean, a big Kobe Donovan was fantastic the other night, really. But if Alistair Johnson's got about, I wouldn't mention Greg Taylor back. I was a Greg Taylor fan for cover at the back.
What about Ermin Mahmic been mentioned for Celtic, the Bosnian World Cup star? He said goodbye to Slovan Liberec. He's, I think, 6 foot tall. That's what I'm just checking just now. Mark, how many players do you think Celtic will sign in the next couple of weeks?
Window closes September. I would say, I think a goalkeeper's a gimme. It just depends what level of goalkeeper. So a goalie's a gimme. In terms of outfield, Paul, Alistair Johnson's not going anywhere now, so he's staying. I don't see any more first team departures. The only one that you might have, I don't know if you want to call it concern, because you would get a lot of money if they goes. Negrin, you might need to resist a bit of pressure in terms of Negrin. I wouldn't be surprised if one or two come calling for him before September the 3rd. So that might be something you need to deal with. And as I say, forward plan and be prepared. But looking at it right now, if nobody else leaves from the main hub of the outfield players, I think 2. I think Emanelo's done as a left back, the young lad for Chelsea.
He's coming.
And I can understand that, because you can move Scales across. Don't forget, you've got young Dane Murray as well, so you can move Scales over if need be, to a left back if anything happens to Kieran Tierney. So I think 2 would come in, Paul. And by the way, I think 2 proper players, no 2 squad players, 2 proper players.
Barry, for Celtic, how many do you think Celtic would want? Or need?
I certainly watching them on Wednesday and the games before, and obviously with Engels moving, I do think they need a different midfielder, somebody who can maybe sit in with Callum McGregor, because I don't think they have that. Somebody with a bit of presence, but also somebody who can pass the ball and kind of dictate. Because I do think over the next year or so they will need somebody to replace Callum McGregor. So why not bring in even somebody a bit younger to maybe play beside him and learn his trade beside somebody who's been there for the past 6 or 7 years leading the club.
Paul, it's a strange weekend though, isn't it? With no, your team not playing.
I think it's a good thing, but for the teams who try to do their best in Europe, I think they've been doing that for years, to be honest. I think it'll be good. It'll be interesting to see how the European thing pans out, but hopefully we'll get a benefit from it.
Paul, certainly not a jammy call, decent call. Thank you so much for calling the Go Radio Football Show. Cheers. 0808 17 17 700. We're back after this.
Your football show with Scottish Gas.
Thank you for making the switch every night of the week. So Celtic winning 3-0 the other night. Rangers winning 1-0 last night. Hearts and Rapid Vienna 2-2. That was cruel, Mark, wasn't it? They were 2-1 up against Rapid Vienna until late. And that happens so often. But hey, Hearts still in it.
Yeah, they've still got a chance, Paul. You know, that they'll feel they go to Rapid Vienna, a really good stadium, out of ranking. You know, I'd like to see them go and get a few wins. You know, a real positive for me is James Wilson getting in the score sheet. I'd like to see him be given a proper run with Hearts this season. So they're in it. They've been great, but it just shows you can't switch off at European level, Paul. You'll be punished. You've got to be fully focused right until the final whistle. But they're in a right good shout. Just, you know, that they've had a couple of tankings, but you know, they've kept themselves involved for the second leg, which is good.
The manager, Rankin, he sort of steadied the ship, Barry, hasn't he? Because the first couple of weeks they were sinking.
Yeah, they were. And then that one against Dun United, Tynecastle kind of lifted their, well, it was like kind of take off for their season. But they'll be disappointed losing that goal last night. But the tie's still open. They'll go over there. I'm sure Rapid will try and attack Hearts, and that might leave gaps for Hearts to counter-attack on. But in my opinion, they're still in it and they've still got a chance of getting through.
What about Hibs? Maybe the result of the night in the over in Ghent, 0-0, and it was so close to being 1-0. I don't know why Owen Elding took the penalty, because did Josh Campbell not and scored?
Yeah, he
recently
tucked one into the back of the net against Rangers at Ibrox. Josh Campbell was on the pitch and never took the penalty, which I found was strange, because what tends to happen is if you've scored a penalty, the next one comes along, he's up. So that's one I'm sure you'll need to ask David Gray and the players, because normally the players sort that out in the pitch, Paul.
He has steadied the ship though, hasn't he, David Gray? After again, you know, you'd hear people in Edinburgh saying, this is because of what Hearts did for so long last season. It just puts you under pressure. Yeah,
they're in the kind of shadow, and I hear people saying as well, the football's not attractive under David Gray. You know, it's something that can be turgid at times. You know, look, he's done really well. You know, he's helped Hibs out so many times, Paul. You know, by stepping into the fold, and then he was given the opportunity. I think we all knew that he was probably just one defeat away from getting the sack. You know, a couple of years ago. And he's turned it around. So you've got to remember what these managers are working with, how they've got to keep, you know, trying turnover and bringing things going. And they've also got the added challenge of how well Hearts done last season.
Great crowds last night, guys, as you know, at Fir Park for the game. And what a start. 2 minutes in, Charles Reagan Cook, who was one of the top scorers, wasn't he, just a few years ago when he was at Ross County. He popped up and put them ahead. Barry, it's great to get a goal in Europe. It's special, but it was so early in the game.
I was just about to say that, maybe a bit too early. It got Freiberg a bit angry, but that was always going to be a tough task for Motherwell. It was a tough draw for them. Listen, they gave it everything, but sometimes you've just got to hold your hands up and say you're up against a better opposition.
Martin Moorman got a double for Ghent. Matthias Ginter. Martin Moorman was sent off. They made it tough for them. Motherwell, they're going to be okay this season though. Many people thought they would get all the way to the League Cup final, given it Rangers Celtic came out, but it's not to be. Do you still think they'll be challenging up in the top six?
I think it's wide open, Paul. You know, I think obviously we can take Celtic and Rangers right up there. I think Hearts will be right up there as well, and then it's whoever comes, you know, from that pack below. You know, it could be any one of the other 7 or 8 teams. So let's see where the window again, Paul. Let's see where all the squads are when the window closes on September the 3rd, and can make a proper assessment then.
Darren's been on 0808 17 17 700 saying, guys, who have been the successes for Rangers so far this season? We played the manager speaking about Macania earlier on.
Macania is certainly one. He looks the part. Yokota, you've seen flashes. Derek says last week he was buggered. He was tired. It'll take him a bit of time to adjust, but he looks to me if he's a bit of a bright spark, Paul. Watching the game last night, I think Derek came up with a good comment. Never stretched the opposition last night. The wide players would want to come in. I'd be screaming at him, hug the touchline, make the pitch as wide as possible. And they didn't do that, and that played into the Czechs' hands last night. So they're probably they're probably the two that probably stand out for me.
Mark, any?
I think Penrice as well.
Yeah,
You can see he's going to be a good addition. Get off to a flyer on his debut. That could have been a real problem, losing Romans. But again, Paul, I'll say it, with Penrice in, and I know he's only in loan, but I'm sure there'll be a willingness to go and make that a permanent deal, and rightly so. If there's money on the table for Romans, I'd be very, very tempted to take it.
Ivor Pandor, the keeper, has done okay, Barry, so far. Obviously,
yeah, pass marks just now. He's done fine. I would rather judge people, Paul, when you're 2-3 months into the season. It's still early. As I said, in terms of from a Rangers' point of view, it's not been an ideal start. They're not playing at the levels they should. But once the window's shut, and then 2 or 3 weeks after that, that's when I think you can really judge the signings and how the team are doing.
Michael, the Rangers fan, said earlier on they could do with the Celtic game being a couple of months away, the cup game. But actually, Mark, Ibrox cup game, anything could happen.
It is, and no sitting in the fence here, but there's 4 or 5 games. A lot can happen, Paul. We know how quickly it can turn, and again, you'll go back to the window and see where everybody is in September the 3rd. What I would say, if the game was tomorrow, the cup game at Ibrox, that's the first game up. I'd fancy Celtic strongly. I would fancy them strongly. However, a lot can happen. But what I would say about Derek and Rangers getting into that double header, so you've got the cup game at Ibrox, then you've got the league game at Celtic Park. Derek needs to win one of those games. If he loses 2, he's got to he'll be under pressure. The Rangers fans won't stand for it. So whether it's winning the cup game and that's a chance to win silverware, then you go into Celtic Park. I'm not saying you accept defeat at Celtic Park, but you can understand a defeat at Celtic Park. But if you lose both, then that's big problems.
Barry, I think that there's a logic there, isn't there? If you're playing Celtic twice, if you're the Rangers manager, the Rangers fans, you're expecting to win at least one of them.
Yeah, without a doubt, and a double header, you have to try your best to put a marker down, because at this moment in time, I'm going to say otherwise. Celtic look strong, like defensively look a bit iffy at times, but when they're going forward, they look ruthless. It's the word I would use. At this moment in time, Rangers are not clicking. But if you're looking at the double header, Rangers have to get a result in one of them.
Ross is asking, did you relish that challenge of going to play Celtic at Celtic Park in that, say, the last game of the season last year?
I just had that a mindset alongside the staff. I spoke to them at length on the Friday, and watching back the previous 5 or 6 games, Paul, I just felt we played into Celtic's hands. Let Celtic dominate. And when you let Celtic dominate, and if you sit really deep, at some stage they're going to cut through you. So I just made the decision to be really aggressive against them, and they didn't enjoy it. And I'm a big believer in Celtic at that time had a lot of good players. Now you're aggressive and you don't give them time on the ball, they're not going to enjoy it. So make them not enjoy the game. I just felt far too many times Rangers went to Celtic Park and Celtic enjoyed the occasion. So I try to flip that, and I thought it worked pretty well.
Do you think you surprised Brendan Rodgers and the Celtic team?
I think
you did
maybe
that
previous week when Rangers teams had went, they sat really low and tried to hit them on the counter attack. But again, I just felt the way that Celtic move the ball, even if it's side to side, they shuffle you so many times, and then somebody might go out of position and they can find the wee gaps in between because they've got players who can really hurt you. But that was one of the reasons, just really man for man all over the pitch. That's the way I went, from goal kicks. Try and put the centre halves under pressure, and the goalkeeper, put him under real pressure. And then when it went forward, you've got to rely on a bit of luck, because if you look at certainly Maeda, the pace of him going at times man on man, you're a bit, what could happen here? But thankfully the guys were really aggressive in their press. And then when they did get away from them, you've got to play the game, Paul. You've got to make a foul. Take a yellow card at times for your team. So it worked. It worked pretty well. And then at some stage I knew during that game that Celtic were going to dominate a wee bit, which they did. when they got that first goal, and then they were piling pressure on. And then you've got to make a decision. You've got to try and change it again. You've got to make changes to freshen it up. And that's what we've done. And thankfully, we got the winning goal.
2 up, 2-2, and then that famous moment.
I did know it. I did know it at some stage because of the game on the Thursday. Now, I'm not using that as an excuse, but tiredness is going to creep in. And then I'm asking a 37-year-old to play on a Thursday night for 120 minutes and then go again against Maeda. It's no ideal, but he never shrugged away for it. He was like, no, I'll go for it. But then I could see at a stage where he was treading water. So you have to make changes, and you make the changes, and listen, it's a toss of the coin. Changes can work at times, changes can go against you, but thankfully the changes, then I thought, rattle Celtic a wee bit when we made the changes. So they weren't dominating as much as they were, because for about a 10-minute period they were really dominating and putting us under pressure. But to be fair to the defence, and certainly the deep-lying midfielders, they coped with it pretty well.
Weeks later, Mark, and we'll move on before the end of the show, but weeks later, the powers that be at that point say Russell Martin or Barry Ferguson, he'd beaten Mourinho, he beat Rodgers, and they changed. And listen, it was their right to do it, but tens of millions later, here we are. Dundee Derby this weekend. Mark, who's going to win?
2-2, Desmond.
2-2.
I think it's a draw as well.
I think so. And in England, I think you both went for Arsenal for the title. The man that you came up against the other year, Barry, is now Ipswich Town. So Dyson Maeda tomorrow kicks off, I would imagine, against Sunderland. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how he does, but I think he'll do well down
in
the Premier League. I think he'll catch quite a lot of teams and players by surprise. I do.
Yeah.
And I think for £10 million, I know it's the last year of his contract, I think that's a snip. I'm surprised that I think Ipswich will be down towards the bottom. See, like a Newcastle, a Fulham, Brighton, a Brentford, Everton. I'm surprised that none of them didn't come in and take him. But listen, everybody's got different opinions on players, but I do think he'll be a surprise this year.
And Villa, of course, under the captainship of John McGinn. They've lost a lot of players, but let's hope they have a good start at Brighton.
Yeah, all the best to John and the rest. But yeah, you're right, Paul. They've lost a fair bit of talent. There might still be one or two to go. But Emery's a footballing genius.
We're back on Monday. Barry, you reckon Rangers and Celtic will go through in the Cup next week? In the Cups?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Mark? Celtic, I think it'll be tough, but I think Celtic will have enough. I think, as we were talking about earlier in the show, I don't think they'll be as high a line. I think they've got enough experience within the team to see it out. And Rangers, I mean, I said it's unthinkable. They have to go, Paul, and make sure they get through.
And Hibs and Hearts, finally, last 10 seconds.
Do you know what? I'm going to say both of them are going to go through. 4 teams through, Paul Motherwell out.
And on that jammy note, thank you so much, Mark. Thank you, Barry. We're back on Monday night with Charlie and Barry at 5.